Welcome back to the NITE Economics YouTube channel, and tonight we're going to be looking at the price of Bitcoin. What can we expect this summer, Q3, and potentially Q4? If you're liking the content, please subscribe to the channel, drop a like, and without any further ado, let's get into tonight's content. So let's start here actually with the 6-month chart. The 6-month chart here, if we look at the price action of Bitcoin, we see this red line. That's the 5 exponential moving average, and typically Bitcoin likes to reconnect with this moving average. Usually pretty much every 6-month candle wants to reconnect with this moving average. The only times it didn't happen, it was 3 times, and was here in July 2025, over here in January 2021, and all the way back here in January 2015. So it happened twice in a bear market and once in a bull market. I do expect Bitcoin's price action to reconnect with this moving average at some point during these next 6 months. And this candle just opened up 2 days ago, because today is July 2nd. But I do also expect it to potentially get, if not tag this 21 exponential moving average here on the 6-month, just get just shy of it, somewhere between 46,000 bucks. If you, and I base this number based off of the Bitcoin bottom formula, part 2. I'll tag that in this video. But let's get into the bulk of what I'm going to talk about in this video, and that is the downward price action that we could expect in Bitcoin in the next couple of months, and how we're going to get there. Essentially, we had this silver cross to the downside, and that happened at the opening of this candle here on the 2-week time frame. So it's about to close in 3 days and 4 hours from now. And if we look at previous silver crosses that happened in Bitcoin's price action, the last one that happened was in August 2022. Similar, so essentially it happened about 2 months before during our current times, silver cross to the downside. And from the open, not from the wick up, from the open to the low, it was a 36.36 move to the downside. And if we look at the one previous to that, this was in the 2018 bear market. But this one doesn't count, because by the time the silver cross happened, Bitcoin was already working its way out of its bear market, essentially, and starting its new rally, if you will. But then it was short-lived, because then we got the corona done. But essentially this one is not the best example because of what I just said, and it happened so late. It happened in February 2019 of the following year. It's as if we had a silver cross like this happen next year, right? And the reason why it is because the price action of Bitcoin kind of didn't really do anything for several months. It was just moving sideways. You see this period here from August all the way until it dumped off significantly for essentially a month and a half before coming back up and started rallying back up. So the price action of Bitcoin caught up with the moving average. So, and it happened very late. So this is not a good example. So we could ignore this one, because it's not like what's happened with us with our current price action. We've already had a silver cross, and that was 2 weeks ago. Not quite 2 weeks ago, but it will be 2 weeks ago. And the other one that's relevant to what I'm talking about here would be this one, because there's no other ones. There's only been 4. Yeah, and the most recent one is the 4th one. So this is the first one that happened, and this was in April 2015. But this one actually is significant, because you actually have this double bottom from Bitcoin's price action, and that is a 31.42% move from the open. So you could see that these silver crosses, 2 out of 3, present large price action moves to the downside. So if we were to measure a 30% move from the open, not from the wick up, a 31% move will get us back to the 200 simple moving average, which Bitcoin has actually never touched. It has never. You see, it's always been away from it in every bear market. And potentially, if we get a similar move, at least a 31% move from this open of this candle, it would reconnect with this 200 simple moving average. And if we get a 33% move, essentially get down to like about $42,000 US. So if you watched my Bitcoin bottom formula, you get to my rationale as to why I think between 45 and 46,000 US dollars is a very reasonable low for Bitcoin. But if we look at this other example, we could see that Bitcoin could potentially go a little bit lower. And if you follow Bitcoin's bear markets, you could see that Bitcoin has had these diminishing, not only is Bitcoin getting diminishing returns, it's also getting diminishing losses. So the first bear market, you had about an 88% move to the downside, 86% move to the downside. The second bear market here in 2018, you had about like 80%, 83. I'm not catching these exactly, but you get the idea. 2022, we had a 77% move to the downside. So Bitcoin going down to the 200 exponential moving average, it's a 63% move from the high, more or less, give or take, right? So, even if Bitcoin were to get down, and I hope it doesn't get down here, but actually if it gets down there, it's fantastic because of fantastic buying opportunity. If it were to get down to the 377 exponential moving average, it's still within diminishing losses. It's only 74% move to the downside versus 77. But if we look at every bear market and the ones preceding that, we could see that the down, I'm not going to count this one, this is too early in Bitcoin's price action, but if we look at so this one was an 87% move to the downside, or 87% move to the downside. The one after that, 83, so what is that, 4% less. 2022, 77, so what was that, 83, so that is what, 12% less, right? Yeah, so more or less, right? 4, 5, 6, 14, sorry, 14% less. So if we get 14% less this time, right, 77, what was that again, 77, so what would that be, 87, sorry, 67, 63%. I don't know if I'm making sense here, but 63% sees us more, a little bit like in between 44 and 43,000 US dollars. So a low Bitcoin, a low 40,000 US dollar Bitcoin to be the low for this cycle is very, very reasonable, based off of diminishing losses, based off of this silver cross has happened, and potentially a 30%, more or less 30% plus move down in Bitcoin from current price action, and that will hit this target of the 200 exponential moving average. So and then I guess the next question would be, when can we expect this move to happen? Well, if we look at this previous silver cross, it took about it took 7 bars. It took 7 bars to play out, and then not this one because this one doesn't count. And if we look at this one over here, it took 9 bars to play out. So what does 7 bars from our current price action, 7 bars look like from our current price action? 7 bars take us to the end of September, and 9 bars take us out to the end of October. So pretty much 1 full year for the bear market, and essentially end of Q3, end of this quarter, so 3 months from now, more or less, early Q4. I mean, it doesn't have to exactly play out exactly like that, but kind of like around that time period. So I'd be very cautious around September. Between September and November of Bitcoin, you want to definitely be paying of Bitcoin. Between September and November of this year, you want to definitely be paying attention to Bitcoin's price action. I think you should be paying attention now, because I mean, I think these are still fantastic buying opportunities right now. 60,000 Bitcoin is a fantastic buying opportunity. This is not financial advice. Do whatever you want. I'm not your daddy, but essentially, we can expect Bitcoin to bottom out around that period, and traditional markets usually also have I guess this would be the midterm year. And midterm years, traditional markets usually have a low in Q3, Q4. So it would coincide with a low in essentially in traditional markets will give us a low here in Bitcoin to bring us down to that price target, more or less. I guess if people need a reason as to why, a narrative as to what brings us down there would essentially be traditional markets having a low in the latter half of this year. So that's pretty much all I have for today's video. Again, if you're liking the content, please subscribe to the channel. Drop a like, is very helpful. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care. Bye for now.